Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. We've got Dustin back after a few episodes where he's not shown up for business here. What happened to you, man? Why weren't you here?
Man, it was the craziest thing. It was, I always thought that vertigo was something you were like diagnosed with, like some sort of like hereditary disease or something, but apparently not. Apparently, vertigo is something that any human can get at any time for absolutely no reason, which blows my mind. So this was like 2-3 weeks ago now, I think. And I woke up and it was like, you ever like drink so much that you get the spins?
Yeah.
That's what it was like when I woke up. But I hadn't drinking anything the night before, so I was like, man, why do I feel like I'm absolutely hammered right now? This is crazy. So I lied down in bed for a couple of hours, thinking like, oh, I just need to, it's just a head rush, right? So I think I woke up at like 6:30ish. Didn't get out of bed until 8:30, almost 9 o'clock. And it just wasn't going away. So I didn't know what was going on. I thought it would vanish. But then Samuel came over and he was like, oh man, like maybe you have vertigo. And I was like, doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I have vertigo? And Crystal's like, I looked it up. No, you hear the symptoms of vertigo. I'm like, wow, I've never had vertigo before. Why would I just have it? So my buddy Samuel, he like tried to do these head exercises with me, and apparently they're supposed to work, but they made it way worse. Like after the head exercises, like it really makes the inner ear move, right?
And that's where the vertigo is coming from, is your inner ear?
Yeah. So what happens is that in your inner ear are these tubes full of a liquid and little crystals, right?
Are they crystals or hairs? Because I heard people say hairs.
They're crystals.
Okay.
They're not hairs.
All right.
I know, I thought it was weird too, but no, yeah, they're actual crystals in your inner ear, and sometimes for absolutely no reason they can just break off, and when they get stuck somewhere they're not supposed to be, it throws off your equilibrium, and that's how you get vertigo. Okay. So I got it. I actually still have it, but it's only an issue if I'm lying down and I look to my left.
That's weird. So cause that's where wherever it's laying on, it is affecting that part.
Yeah. So I got it in my left ear. Yeah. So if I lie down and I look over my left shoulder, the world starts to spin like mad.
That's crazy.
And when I first got it, it was really bad. Like I couldn't move. I could barely move my head without, like, I would move my head and my head would stop, but everything else would keep, it would feel like everything moving.
Right.
So it was one of the worst experiences I'd ever been through. And that's why I couldn't drive, which is why I couldn't make it here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I can't look over my left shoulder.
Yeah. And the doctor, like, put you off work and everything. Like, that's how bad it was.
Yeah. So
couldn't drive, couldn't go to work.
Yeah, when I got into the doctor's office, he just told me that I'm just going to turn that off because it's distracting me. I told him the symptoms. He's like, oh, you have vertigo. And I was like, isn't that something that you can just, isn't that something you have to be diagnosed with? Like, I thought that was like something you're born with. He's like, nope, it's just a symptom of being a human being. I'm just like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, you can get it at any time for absolutely no reason. And then he explained it to me, and I was like, well, my buddy came over, and he explained these head exercises, and he helped me do them. And he was just like, well, your buddy's got the right idea. And he printed me off these instruction sheets, and sure enough, they were the exact same exercises that Samuel had me doing, right? He's like, you need to try do these, and what happens is when you do these exercises, it makes the liquid in your ear move, and because of gravity, essentially it uses gravity.
Yeah.
And then the idea is that it unlodges the broken crystals so that your equilibrium can be back
balanced
on.
Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Super interesting. And then so I just asked him like, okay, like I'm super dizzy. Obviously I shouldn't drive or operate heavy machinery. He's like, yeah, you shouldn't be driving. If you work in a place that operates heavy machinery, I work at a mill, like you shouldn't go to work. He's like, now the problem is that vertigo can take anywhere from 2.5 days to 2.5 weeks to go away. Mm-hmm. He was at 3 weeks and it hadn't gone away all the way, right? So he didn't know how long for me to be off work. So I was like, okay, well, just do a week, right? So, but then at that, like halfway through that week, the boss ran out of logs. And he's like, all right, no work next week anyways. So I didn't work for another 2 weeks. Out of the last 2 months or so, 2.5 months, I've only worked. This is only my second week of work out of those whole 2 months. Right?
That's either tough times or good times.
Well, I had EI that paid all my bills, so it was good times. I wasn't complaining, that's for sure. I friggin' love not going to work. It's great.
What was I going to say? So for your mill, are they seeing a struggle of getting lumber in because of COVID?
Yeah, well, they were.
Because they were having struggles. Like, there was a lumber problem before COVID even hit with mills and stuff.
Yeah, so before COVID, we didn't have any issues at all. Right? We were getting logs in almost every day. Right? One truck of logs can last us a day and a bit, depending on the type of log, how
big they are and how long it takes to cut.
Yeah, the quality of lumber, essentially. But so if we get a bunch of logs, essentially we get a pack of logs that will last us a whole month. So if we can go a whole month, sometimes I think the longest we've gone without getting any logs was like 2.5 months of getting no logs, but we had enough to keep the mill running. But after COVID hit, all the logging companies started closing down, right? And then because they started laying people off for, COVID.
Yeah.
And without the loggers and the logging trucks, there was no way for us to get lumber, right? So, and now we're struggling to get lumber because I don't remember the name of the company, but it's like the biggest logging company in BC, which is where we usually get our logs from. But there's this thing where they're not allowed to sell overseas, right? They're not allowed to sell to America.
Okay. There's like a law or rule in place,
yeah,
like a bylaw or something.
Yeah, but they're legally not allowed to sell to them. They have to sell to people in Canada first.
Okay, there's a quota they have to sell to in-house, and then after that quota is filled, they can sell out-of-house?
Yeah, but the issue with that is that I don't know if these are exact numbers. This is just like for example, if they sell to America, they get $100 a foot, or a linear foot.
Okay.
Right? When they sell in Canada, they're only getting $50 a linear foot.
Oh, they make half the amount.
They don't make nearly as much. That's why there's so many logs getting exported to different countries, because they
pay more for
it, right?
Yeah.
So they make a lot more money, but now they're like, oh, well, you have to sell. I don't know the actual. I think it's like a certain amount. Like you have to sell to Canada before you start selling.
Okay. That makes. I mean, they want to keep the Canadian a log economy going before they start sending stuff to different countries, I guess.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
But now they're not cutting as much lumber.
Yeah.
Right. They're just like, well, what's the point of even pushing out all this product if we can't make that much money?
Yeah.
Right. So we had that week that we couldn't get logs was because this company was just like, F you, like you're on your own. So then the boss had to go to like a backup company. But the issue with the backup company is they don't actually they don't take money for the lumber, for the logs. So what they do is when my boss is like, hey, we need logs, they're like, sweet, we'll give you these logs, right, for no cost, but you have to cut this lumber for us. Right?
Oh, it's like a trade.
It's a labor trade, essentially, or it's a product trade. So they give him the logs, and my boss cuts them, and then he gives them that
milled lumber, a percentage of milled lumber back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the issue with that is that
you pay him for labor and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the boss is paying for us and the rent and everything, right? And that's money out of his pocket. Yeah. And he's getting these logs, but he's not getting any money.
Right.
This company doesn't pay him any cash.
Yeah.
Right.
But they give him the logs. So it depends on if you're making more on the logs than you are spending on hourly wage. Because if your rent and hourly wage is less than the trade-off, then you're going to go with the trade-off. If it's more, then you're out of money.
Yeah. So the thing is it's a stalemate. So they give him say you give him 2 trucks of logs, right? And then we cut those 2 trucks of logs into the lumber, and then that company takes the lumber that we cut out of those logs as payment.
Okay.
Right? So there is no money transaction.
Okay.
So he keeps it going because to keep us paid,
to keep more
which is
flow.
awesome, right? He's a pretty good employer, right?
Yeah.
So he just keeps that going so that
he's trying to keep his crew going.
That's right.
Okay.
He actually, I'm not going to give out any names because I don't want to give out his personal information or anything like that. But he himself he hasn't paid himself since like November of last year.
He's just been struggling to keep everyone going.
He's
eh?
just keeping us going so
Yeah.
that we can be paid and then our families can be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Well, he must be taking care
So-
of his own interests too, because you can't go all that long.
Yeah, well,
with
his
Yeah.
wife works and stuff.
Yeah,
and-
so whatever his family needs, however. He's
yeah,
making
I don't
ends
know how
meet.
that all
Yeah.
works. And plus, it's like, poor guy's truck just broke down, but he got a
Uh.
really nice new one. But his old one is still stuck on the side of the highway. I drive past it every day to work, and I'm just like, there it is.
Okay, well, let's move on from that little story. Okay, if you guys haven't heard, I'm starting a new little thing for the channel here called Shoutouts, and I'm doing a shout out to local and small businesses that are anywhere in Canada or wherever you hear this. If there's a local business or a small business that you appreciate and feel like they could use a little shout out on a channel or appreciation, you can send me an email at the dirksdiarypodcast@gmail.com and put in a little word for them, and I'll share it on the channels, and or you can send a little video, and I'll add the video and the audio to the channel so that people can hear it, and I'll leave their links and information. And so to keep going with that, I'm still going to be doing my shout out to Kicking Horse Automotive in Duncan, run by Jerry. This is a small automotive company. Jerry is a really hard worker. He's been doing this for many, many years. And he's got this old school feel when you go into that shop where you talk directly to the mechanic, and you can generally talk to him and feel that he's doing his best to help you in your situation, and he's trying to do right by his customers. And if you talk to people that take their vehicles to Jerry, they're always satisfied. I take my vehicle strictly to Jerry for fixes and maintenance that I don't really understand. I'm not really a mechanical guy, so Jerry's my go-to, and he will continue to be my go-to for the foreseeable future. So you can find Jerry at Kicking Horse Automotive in Duncan, and I'll leave a link for his webpage down below in the descriptions and the show notes of the thing. So, I just want to say thank you, Jerry, for the hard work you've done on my vehicle and the friendship that you provided me with, and the confidence that you have displayed in doing work on my vehicle. I really appreciate everything you do. So there's a shout out to you. Thanks a bunch. Okay, and then moving forward from that, the province has announced that come time to go back to school, it's full force into kids going to school, and there's been a lot of mixed feelings about that, including myself. Like, I'm unsure, do I or don't I agree with that decision. Here where we live on Vancouver Island, the numbers of cases are low, so it makes me feel like there's nothing to worry about.
Like, it's fine here for us. It's hard to say like yay or nay, because like just over, not this weekend because it's still going, but last weekend we had in BC we had 150 cases, like new cases over the weekend. And then I think on Vancouver Island there was 144 cases.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's hard to say. Like, is that?
Are you putting your kids at risk? My kids are not old enough to go into school. On that, I don't know. Maybe my thoughts would be different if my kids had to go to school. Maybe I'd be a little more stern. But the province seems confident. But I think we've seen a little uptick in cases though. So over the summer here. We were getting very minimal cases, and now I think there's a bit of an uptick. And so places like Walmart, we were just talking before the show that Walmart is making it mandatory starting next week. So by the time this launches, it'll be this week. It's going to be mandatory to wear masks and at all Walmart stores across Canada. And I was in Canadian Tire today picking up some tools, and I asked them too if they were going to have mandated masks, and they said that they didn't know. And I read an article online, maybe all of Canada will be mandated masks. There's a fly.
It's a mosquito.
Mosquito. Dustin's been trying to get it.
I think you got it. Is it on your fingers?
No, it's not there.
I see it.
Yeah, there's tons in here. Will we all be mandated to wear masks or not? And how do you feel about that? Like me, it's not a big deal. Like a mask, whatever. Like I'm not week, I can battle through a mask. Look, when I go and do airsoft, I wear a mask the whole time in the sun. I think that people that put up a stink about the mask is not is more of a control thing. They don't want to be told they have to do it. If they were doing it for something they like if you were painting a car and you were really into it, you would wear a mask or a respirator and you wouldn't complain about it. If you worked with chemicals at your job and you were mandatory to wear a mask and stuff like that to do your job, you wouldn't complain about it. But all of a sudden, some places are mandating masks for you to go in, and some people are having a hard time with it. And I think it's a little bit funny because if it was your work and you were mandated to wear a mask, there would be no complaint about it.
You would just do it.
You would do it because you need to do your job.
That's right.
But anywhere else, you can't come into the store. People are feeling like your rights and freedoms and whatever are being taken away. And I don't really know. I mean, are you taking someone else's freedoms and right away if you give them COVID? You've put them in that scenario. If I'm not really sure the mindset behind that. I don't really know how I feel because to me it's not a big deal to wear a mask. I don't like going out anyway. So I mean, when I wear a mask, it's for a short time and then I'm out of there because there's people and people. Sometimes when you get into shopping situations like at Costco, it's lame. So I mean, I don't like to put myself in a shopping scenario too often where I'm crowded by people anyway. So wearing a mask, if I'm wearing a mask, it actually helps me target where I want to go in and out quicker because I'm like, I put the mask on, go do my thing, come back out. So I'm not against wearing a mask, but I am not sure about the school district thing, especially because in British Columbia, just over the last few days, there's been like 41 new cases. My mother-in-law shared an article with me. 41 new cases of children 10 and under, I believe, that have gotten COVID over the last week or so because of how we're being a little more lenient and people are deciding that certain situations are safe and getting together and not social distancing or whatever the cases may be or however the people get them. The count number in kids has gone up. And that's a concern going back into school. Like, I'm worried about people's kids. My kids aren't even in school, but they're within the age range. My son, he's just turned 2, and the age that these kids are getting it are from 10 to 2. So that's a concern. And you have a daughter who's 2. Like, I couldn't imagine a 2-year-old who's getting COVID, no matter what people are saying statistics are with the risks and stuff with children. You want your child to be at zero risk, 100% zero risk, right? Like,
yeah, I don't. And when everyone's like, well, the chances are really low. Well, like, that's nice, but there's still a chance.
Yeah, like low doesn't mean not at all. And if everyone was in the mindset that the cases are all low, so we can all go and do it, and then the one kid gets it, everyone's gonna go, that person should have worn a mask, shouldn't take your kids. It becomes a different story. If someone else's kid or if your kid gets it, then you're going to feel super guilty and super bad about the scenario and forced to take it more seriously. Just follow the rules and places and minimize your risk completely. My kids right now, they don't go into stores or nothing. I go into Walmart and Canadian Tire, and I understand everyone's scenario is different. Maybe you have to take your kids in because you're a single parent or whatever, but I'm not in that situation, and I hands down do not take my children into shopping malls, stores, situations where there's crowds. I don't take my kids. And not everybody can use the single parents things because I've seen tons of people taking all their kids and husband, wife, 3 kids, all going into Walmart or wherever, no masks. Kids running around, breaking the social distance barrier because kids don't understand social distance barriers. Like, you can tell them and they'll say, yeah, they get it. But then when they're hyped up and excited, those rules are out the window just like all the other rules. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm conflicted. I want my kids to also, like, Mavi, my baby who was born during COVID times, has never, ever been in a store or in a crowd of people. Or she's only met one other kid her age. I did do a baby play date with a friend of mine who's been self-quarantined, and they had a baby slightly before I had Mavi. So they're around the same age, and so we did a play date. But I was confident with that. That person can be within my bubble, but I'm not doing that with everybody and everybody's kids.
Yeah. I mean, with me, we're a little bit more lenient. I mean, our daughter, she's 2, and she goes to daycare every Monday to Friday. When we sent her back to daycare, we were a little skeptical at first. The only reason we did it, well, for 2 reasons. One, if we didn't send her back, then the daycare was going to remove her and then replace it with another kid, right? Because there's a huge waiting list. Childcare in BC is a huge struggle, and we actually waited to get on into this daycare for 6 months before Kyrie got there. So we didn't really want to get kicked out, but also the daycare she's in is crazy good, right? Like the other day we took Kyrie to daycare, and I was like, and I told her, I was like, hey, just so you know, Kyrie has, like, she's got a nasal drip. Like she doesn't have any symptoms of COVID or anything like that, and but she does have like a nasal drip, and she's been coughing like at night because of the nasal drip, right? And she's like, sorry, she can't be here today then, right? Like any symptoms that even resemble her having even just the slightest cold, they're like, sorry, you have to keep her home. Yeah. Like, even like I drove all the way from Duncan all the way to Lake Cowichan. It's about a half-hour drive. Right? They weren't like, oh well, you drove a long way. Like we can make the exception. They were like, nope. Right? And then so she stayed home for 4 days. That was a Wednesday. She said no. So Thursday, Friday, and then the weekend. And I sent her on Monday. I took her back, and because she didn't cough like almost all weekend. And then when we went back on Monday, she sent a notice to Crystal being like, hey, just noticed Kyrie. She had a little bit of a coughing spit today. Nothing serious. We just wanted to let you know. We'll have to contact you. Like if it keeps up, you have to come and get her. So they're taking some hardcore precautions. When it comes to going into the stores, we take Kyrie into the stores, like to Walmart or Canadian Tire or sometimes a dollar store. But if it's too busy, we leave. And they always have, this mosquito is stuck in your hair. Oh, it got out. Walmart has like sanitizing wipes right at the front door, and we wipe down the entire cart before we put it in there.
You're not gonna get it.
I was close. Yeah, so we wipe down the entire cart and stuff, and she's actually really good. Like if she's getting close to someone, we ask her to come back. She'll stop and she comes back, and and she covers her mouth when she coughs and stuff. But the thing that worries us the most is that being a kid, she's curious, right? So she wants to go and she wants to touch everything, right? And for the most part, if she's in a really good mood, she'll listen. She'll be like, okay, I won't touch it, right? But knowing kids, when there's times when you're just like, oh no, don't touch that, please, and they stop and they look at you and they're like, and then they smack it, and you're like, oh. But we keep hand sanitizer in the car, so the first thing we do is all three of us, we put hand sanitizer, and then we hand sanitize like the steering wheel and the door handles and stuff. So we're taking the extra cautions, but if the cases keep going up, then it's like we got to pull her from daycare. And,
what are you doing, right?
Yeah,
it's interesting. Like, what are we gonna do? Because they are saying like, they're saying that there has never not been a second wave of these pandemics in the past. There's always
and the second one is always worse.
Always worse. So it's what's gonna happen if that occurs. Number one, are we gonna shut down again if that happens? And where's the money going to come from to support us all if we all shut down again? Does that exist? And if we're not going to shut down again, how are we going to guarantee people's safety? Like gloves and masks at all times, like a futuristic apocalyptic type scenario where everyone's got gas masks and breathers when they go on outside of their home, and it sounds like a TV show.
I know.
But I think even though here in BC we're still super fortunate, we're still super lucky. So I'm not overly panicked. I'm just easing on the side of caution. But I also want my family to live a life and be active and live among the world. Right? We can't all be shut-ins.
Yeah, you got to be active and keep them outside and stuff. Like Crystal and I, we're going to go for a hike tomorrow with Kylie. I'm not sure where, but when you go to do these things, it's like it's not like you just go there and you go. It's like you go there. It's like, okay, the parking lot's not too busy or the trail's busy, and if it's too busy, you got to leave, which sucks sometimes when you have a kid because like
they're excited.
They're excited. Yeah. When I tell my daughter, hey, we're going to go for a walk. Let's hop in the car. She okay. And then we get there and we're parking, and we here. And she's all excited. She's like, let's go. And then if we go there and we're just like, it's so busy, we got to go home. And then she starts freaking out because she doesn't want to go home. She wants to go for a walk. Like, you said we could go for a walk.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes it tough, but I'd rather battle through that than try and keep her home. And there's so much to talk about when it comes to this COVID thing, right?
I know. Maybe we should talk about it. I'm sure everybody's talking about it. We could probably just jump ship on the COVID thing. Guess what? Make your own COVID decisions, okay?
The one thing I want to do point on the COVID thing, actually there's 2 points.
Okay.
The first one is people coming over from the States has been such a crazy thing, and the government was like asking the Canadian citizens, like, if you see an American license plate, like, ask your passenger to like snap a photo of the license plate and contact the authorities, right? So it's like they're kind of like sending like all of the Canadian citizens like on a headhunt, you know? They're just like, you find these guys and you let us know, right? And it got so bad that it's like, I was listening to the news that the border is going to be handing out permits, right? Like, you have so and so much time to get from this point to Alaska.
I think that's pretty smart, though, because guess what? Vancouver Island's not on the way to Alaska, and
I know.
I've seen them here.
I think that it's a good thing to give them, because everyone was all like, well, what's stopping them from not doing this? What's stopping them from this? But saying like, oh, we're going to Alaska.
The real problem is when you see out-of-province plates, it doesn't mean they don't live here. And even Seattle plates, it doesn't mean they don't live here. So people are like vandalizing cars, and so they're putting signs up like, please stop keying my car. I live here. I'm a citizen. I live in Victoria or whatever. Please stop. But their insurance is in a different place due to whatever circumstances, dual citizenship. If you work in Alberta and your truck is registered and insured there, but you live in BC, like
there was a lot of things. Crystal and I actually saw one of those signs. We stopped off at a red light, and at first we were like, Ontario plate. Oh, who do you think you are? Right?
You were one of those people.
Well, we were just joking like back and forth to one another, right? Because I'm going to be honest. As much as I think it's silly for Americans and people to be traveling all across the countries and stuff, I'm not going to stop and take a picture and be like, you need to come and get this guy, right? Like, you do you. I'm going to take care of my family as best I can. But anyways, we stopped at this red light and there's an Ontario plate. And of course, I was just joking. I was like, Crystal, look at this guy. But in the tinted window, there's a big sign. And then they had a little sign like saying like, we live here. And then the big sign on the tinted window says, we are residents of BC. Please don't damage this car. It's a rental. So it was just a view because of rental companies, you know, they have kind of like a U-Haul, and they just keep that vehicle there, right? So one that originates from Ontario comes to BC, and it just stays Ontario. Right? So this guy's like, oh, it's a rental. Please don't damage it.
You're going to cost me money. So, you know, when you see those people being like the right mindset. Speaking of U-Hauls, you know what I saw? You know on Coke Silo Road where you go over the one bridge and you go up and you go under the train bridge?
Right, yeah.
Someone tried to put a U-Haul underneath it.
No way.
It skinned the whole top, came right off. It came off like a slice of cheese. Like it came off and it folded over the back of the truck and it was all in one piece, just the top of the can. But just destroy. Oh, no, it wasn't a U-Haul. It was from the brick.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, man,
so it was an employee.
Yeah. And then someone's like, this is the railway that runs through the Vancouver Island, hasn't been used in several years. People want it to get running again. I think it'd be great to be running again. I would love to just be able to pay a few dollars to go up island and not have to pay all the gas and deal with my kids. I can actually spend time with my family instead of having to drive or whatever. So I'd love to see the train going again and drive the tracks and go over the cool bridges and stuff. But there's literally people in the comments that are like, you need to just remove this bridge. Now, this bridge is old, like big cinder block.
Yeah, big brick.
Yeah, big
single
brick.
lane. Like you have to move, you have to yield to oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
But it's small.
It's small.
I don't understand how that guy was like, I can do this.
He must not be from here. Like, I would never think to take a truck in there.
No.
My buddy is a truck driver, and he says it happens, actually. It's happened to a few drivers. They just,
really?
Yeah, they just...
Not
I
thinking.
don't know, man. Yeah, they're just not thinking, and then maybe they can't get a place to turn around in there, and then they just decide to try it or whatever. I don't know how you get this. I always wonder how those scenarios where the truck driver with the dump truck and they leave it up and they hit bridges. I'm like, how does that happen?
I was just thinking of that. I watched the video the other day. It wasn't a dump truck. It was actually like a semi truck, and I guess it was. I don't know if you've ever seen those semi trucks that haul sea cans around, and how they put the sea cans down, it raises up, and then the truck drives forward. And
yes, and it slides on.
This truck was ripping down the highway, like down the freeway, and there was an overpass. But maybe he hit the button or something, or he just forgot that it was up when he drove away. But he was ripping down this freeway, and this thing was up
A sea can was
all
sticking
the
out.
way, and it just boom hit this overpass on the freeway and just destroyed the truck. Absolutely destroyed the freeway. I don't know if anyone was hurt. It didn't look like anyone was passing on the freeway in the video, but it's hard to see because it's just like a dash cam with a guy beside him going like, what?
Yeah, I know, man. I don't understand how that happens, but I'm not the driver in that scenario. I try not to judge, but then when you watch the videos, you're just like,
how
did this happen? But it happens quite, like, if you go on YouTube and YouTube that, there's an endless amount of videos of people doing it, so it's a pretty common mistake, I guess. But this, I've never seen it here on this bridge, so that was a local little story I read, and I thought it was pretty funny.
It is funny.
It sucks for the driver, for sure. But, I mean,
I hope he still has his job.
That's driver error for, I don't know, man, the amount of damage done to that truck. The whole box and even part of the cab, it is gone.
I mean, if someone else that works there knows how to weld, they might be able to fix it.
You know, me and Devin crashed there. When he first moved back from California, he had that Jeep. And he was coming down, and a guy was going up. And I'm sure it all depends on who you're talking to, whose side of the story is saying who's doing what. But from Devin's side of the story, the other guy was going too fast. But I was in Devin's car, and he was an angry person at that time. He was driving pretty heavy-footed, coming downhill, and the other guy was coming uphill. Now, there's a yield on both sides, and if you pull up on either side at the same time, you're both yielding to each other. Now, it's a steep hill and a turn coming on that underneath that train bridge. A single lane, hill, and a turn. So you can't. It's got a huge blind spot, and so if you're ripping down or ripping up, you're taking a risk of not seeing another vehicle and having to turn into the wall, and that's what happened. We were coming down. Now, I think the person going downhill should yield to the person going uphill because it takes a little bit more oomph to get going up a hill, right? If you're in a standard vehicle or maybe like a little 4-cylinder and you're downhill and you've got to get up and around the corner, it takes a little bit more work. Or if you're a manual driver and maybe you're young and new or whatever, that corner could be tough going up a hill, not being able to see, it being on a turn, being a single lane under a bridge. I think the person going uphill should have the right of way. Person downhill should yield. But when they both have a yield, it's a matter of opinion, I think. If it leaves open to interpretation.
I don't know what anybody else thinks about yields and how they work. But essentially, a yield is very close to a stop sign, except instead of having to stop, you just slow right down, and then you don't go until you know there's nobody else there.
Well, it's like a California stop.
Yeah. It's not just like keep going until you go as fast as you can. The speed limit's 50, so go to this yield doing 50. No, you gotta slow down, right? Until almost to stop.
You're preparing to stop in case you have to, right? And if you don't have to, you can go through. And so that drives me insane when it comes to roundabouts, because we have a lot of roundabouts here. The people that are waiting to get into the roundabout are the people who have to yield. So these people that get into the roundabouts letting people in because there's a long line of people yielding to the roundabout traffic, guess what? Sucks to be in that lineup for sure, but that's the law. That's the rules we're all playing by. Yeah. Do not stop in a roundabout to let people in. It's not how it works, okay? Just finish the roundabout. That's what everybody wants you to do. Do not stop. That drives
me nuts, man. A cop stopped. I was stopped at a roundabout, like at the yield, and then a police car, like a couple cars went by, and a police car, and he stopped right in front of me to let me in. And I'm looking at him, and I'm just like,
this is illegal.
Go. What do you? Okay, I'm going.
I know, it's so frustrating. Do not stop in a roundabout. Keep going. We need to do double lane roundabouts so that the person on the inside can.
There's 2 of those on the island. By the airport.
Oh yes, and that one is it's actually a very complicated intersection for.
You really need to pay attention to the painted arrows. Yeah. So I mean, it's a good thing they keep those painted arrows updated.
Yeah. So I think I mean, we're not going to see them here, but I wish they did have a double laner so the people going all the way around could just move over. Don't stop in a roundabout. That's all I'm getting at. I don't like that. Frustrating.
What else can we talk about? The traffic.
Traffic
Sucks.
Let's talk about the weather. Man, I don't know where everybody else lives, but it's been chilly where I live out here in the Sticks. And just in Vancouver Island, I think, when the sun is out, it's really hot. The other day we went down to the river. It was smoking hot. It was in the evening, even in the shade, and the wind was blowing down this. The river is kind of like in a canyon and through the mountains, and the wind's tunneling down. Even the wind was warm, but for the most part this year, it has been so cool. I haven't even seen hardly any wasps or nothing. Last year we had tons of wasps, tons of heat. It has been cold, and where I live in my section of the town, sometimes it rains here when it doesn't rain in other places. We've been getting tons of rain the last couple days here, like just out of nowhere. It was sunny, not a cloud in the sky. As the sun set, not a cloud in the sky. We wake up to a torrential downpour, which, we had the kids out all day and played in the sun, and so we had kind of left things laying around, and then we come out, everything was soaked, clothes and all that stuff. So the weather's been a little bit on the cool side this year, but my buddy said that there's a weird front coming in, and so what's going to happen is that it's going to be a warm September, October, so we'll see. But it was chilly today. I wore fall clothing, sweaters and stuff, because it was chilly when I woke up this morning. It's chilly now. When I told you before you came over here, I'm like, bring a sweater.
Good thing you told me, because I wasn't going to bring a sweater.
I know, and it's chilly out here. And
I could actually, I drove with the windows down because in Duncan it's pretty warm. But it was cloudy, but I could feel the temperature change just from driving from my place to here.
Yeah, there is.
I was like, man, it is getting kind of, it was 21 at my place.
Yeah.
And by the time I got here, it was less than 14.
Yeah, okay, so we drive into town, and then we come back out here. We always check as well, and there's always about a 2 to 6 degree difference, and we're always cooler, which I like. I like being cooler. We have lots of green and forest and stuff like that, but it's a significant difference. Like today,
considering that it's let me try that again.
Yeah.
Considering that it's such a small distance, right? It's only like a 15-minute drive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like makes a big difference.
I guess it's all highway stuff, and we're in the country. Okay, we're pushing it for time, but I wanted to bring up, you did airsoft with us last week.
Yeah,
and it was fun.
It was sweet.
Yeah,
I loved it. I bought that gun.
Yeah, you bought
the used one.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to send Lucas the money so he can give it to the guy. But now I just need to get some attachments. I was looking at some optics because I don't like the iron sights.
Yeah, I want to get a red dot optic. I'm not sure what I want. I want something that gives me maybe a slight zoom, because what I plan on doing is building like a ghillie and having some leaf foliage, and I want to be able to see over it.
Yeah, so the one that I'm looking for, I'm not buying like a legit optic. Right?
No, yeah.
Because if you want to get one that's decent and you want it to be, the real deal, they're expensive.
Yeah.
Right? They can be a couple grand.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to put in your money into it, right?
I'm buying one from Wish.
Yeah. You like you found one you like? Well, I'll see how it looks.
It looks sweet in the picture, and it has really good rating. Like, obviously, I only buy the ones with good ratings and, like, have the, like, customer pictures.
Yeah.
And it looks awesome, and it has everything I want.
Right.
A nice, good zoom. And then it has the iron sight, like the little red dot iron sight on top.
Okay.
Right? So, as most of you guys probably know, I worked with the military, and their optics are the same thing. It's one that you can go up to like 500 meters and such, but on top there's a little iron sight, so when you're doing close quarter combat with it, you're not looking down this super zoom thing, you're just looking over the sight on the optics. Right? So that's what I wanted for this, because it's going to, when we're airsofting, there's going to be points where you come around, and you see someone that's not super far, and you just want to, get them in your sights and get them. Mm-hmm. That's where the iron sight's going to come in. So I really needed to find one that. So that's what I'm going to get from
I want to find a certain one for mine that I can see over the foliage, because I'm building a whole ghillie leaf suit system out to go with my sniper and with my G&G
Assault rifle.
Yeah, assault rifle. I'm not really a gun person. I'm a bow person.
I have so much more to learn about guns still too. So.
But we're talking like our little group of friends, getting some comm systems going, communications, and maybe doing some practice and stuff. So I'm excited to do some future games. I'd love to talk more on this, but we'll talk another time. More in depth as we grow our little group and get some more practice in.
Yeah, it seems like everybody in the group is interested in learning some of the tactics. So I'll teach you some of the stuff I know. That's all public knowledge, not giving away any military secrets here. It's all public knowledge that I'm going to be teaching you guys. But it'll be super fun.
They don't tell him any secrets, anyways.
It's true, they don't.
Okay, guys. Thanks for chiming in. On this episode of the podcast. Once again, check out Jerry at Kicking Horse Automotive in Duncan if you're in need of any automotive assistance. He is your guy. Links are in the description and the show notes. And we'll check you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Toodles.